the media are now ferreting out information supposedly from Team Mueller about how William Barr is not properly representing the results of the Mueller report. In other words, the Mueller report is really, really bad for Trump, and Barr has downplayed how bad it is for Trump. By the way, we'll know all of this in the next 2 weeks because Barr has said he's going to release a lot of this stuff, and Congress could just change the law. If Congress really cared about this, all they could do is just change the law and say that we do not require redactions when we are talking about a secret report handed over to the Judiciary Committee. They could do that, like right now. According to the New York Times, however, there is a cover-up in place. They say some on Mueller's team say a report was more damaging than Barr revealed. Well, it would be hard for it to be more damaging than Barr revealed because Barr didn't reveal very much. Again, Barr said no evidence of collusion. Also, we were provided evidence on both sides of the obstruction question. We didn't have enough evidence to prosecute. Right? That's what the letter actually said. So not sure how it's going to be significantly more damning than that. But here's the New York Times reporting. Some of Robert Mueller's investigators have told associates that Attorney General William Barr failed to adequately portray the findings of their inquiry and that they were more troubling for President Trump than Mr. Barr indicated, according to government officials and others familiar with their simmering frustrations. Okay, so let's break down that paragraph just in terms of where the sourcing is coming from. It is not coming direct from Mueller. It is not coming direct from Mueller's team. It is coming from people who talked supposedly to members of Mueller's team. So this is now a second-hand account being reported to the New York Times, which makes it a third-hand account. Because government officials and others familiar with simmering frustrations. At stake in the dispute, the first evidence of tension between Mr. Barr and the special counsel's office is who shapes the public's initial understanding of one of the most consequential government investigations in American history. Some members of Mr. Mueller's team are concerned that because Mr. Barr created the first narrative of the special counsel's findings, Americans' views will have hardened before the investigation's conclusions become public. But the investigation's conclusions are already public. They were made public in the Barr report. What the Democrats are talking about are not the conclusions. I mean, this is pretty bad media coverage, honestly. What the Democrats are talking about is not the conclusions of the Mueller team, but the underlying evidence that the Mueller team provided to William Barr. We already know the conclusions. And as far as our perceptions having hardened, what the polls actually show is that people's perceptions were hardened long before the Barr report actually came out. In fact, vast majority of Republicans thought this was a witch hunt. Most Americans thought this was overblown. Still, a plurality of Americans think that the Trump team was guilty of something, even if they can't say what. So opinions have basically been shaped already and not universally in favor of President Trump. The officials and others interviewed declined to flesh out why some of the special counsel's investigators viewed their findings as potentially more damaging for the president than Mr. Barr explained, although the report is believed to examine Mr. Trump's efforts to thwart the investigation. So I love this. So now what do we have? Buried down in paragraph number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way down in paragraph 6, we find out that even the sources for the New York Times are not explaining what material exactly they think Barr is hiding. So all they're saying is that Barr hasn't revealed all the material, which we know since Barr already said so. But those officials are not saying what is the completely damaging material they are afraid that Barr is going to cover up. It was unclear, according to the New York Times, how much discussion Mueller and his investigators had with senior Justice Department officials about how their findings would be made public. It was also unclear how widespread the vexation is among the special counsel team, which included 19 lawyers, about 40 FBI agents, and other personnel. So in other words, here is the real story, right? When you boil it down, there is one dude who is part of Mueller's team who talked to a person, supposedly, and that person talked to the New York Times. That's what this amounts to. And there's a front page story in the New York Times. Not sure that is particularly solid journalism, particularly given the fact that we are going to know all of this stuff in the next week and a half.